Hello and welcome to the weekly collective reading for the Divine Feminine. This is the energy for the week of March 6th to 13th. So last week had a lot of energy. That Pisces new moon was something else. There was a lot of telepathy, there was a lot of intense dreaming, there was a lot of emotion. So as we journey forward into this week, I want you to really focus on how you can ground some of what came to the surface. Particularly how we're doing that. If you missed the March forecast that was released last week, I want you to go back I want you to go and catch that because there was a lot of very important information. The key suggestion, because we are working with the Hermit this month, is to explore your spiritual practice and to really get committed to it. In the pre-meditation for this week's energy, Spirit really suggested that I speak a little bit about this consistency, this commitment, and spiritual practice. Because it's not about doing a 31-day challenge. It's not about showing up and sitting in seated meditation for 35 minutes every single day. In fact, your spiritual practice and the consistency and the commitment to it can be a little bit more fluid than what we've been taught and trained by the patriarchy. Because those 30-day challenges or those 30-day expectations or 31 days, because we're in March, they can have a very masculine energy to it. And the feminine is being dropped into her feminine energy. So one of the things I want you to explore is how can you show up to a spiritual practice and let spirit and let your soul or your higher self move you into what you need to do in that given day. And that's how I've been doing my spiritual practice for some time. I've done that. I'm going to show up and do yoga every single day. I'm going to show up and read a poem from, a prayer book or whatever it is. I've done that kind of commitment, and eventually it gets misaligned, it gets old, or I stick with things long past the point where they're serving me. And so my personal practice is each day I show up and I just say, what is it that I need today to connect within myself and to connect with spirit? And some days it might be like yesterday, for example. Maybe 2 days ago, I was told you really need to ground some of these energies from this new moon. Please take off your shoes, go to the lake and walk the perimeter. And I did, and I felt so connected. I felt so much joy. I felt so good after, and it really set the tone for the rest of the day. Okay, this morning actually. Now, so here's the thing, and I had to sit a while with accepting this as a spiritual practice, but as I was sitting this morning and asking what would really help me today, it wasn't go meditate, it wasn't go move, it wasn't any of my regular things. It was really make yourself a cup of tea, get in bed, and read an extra 15 minutes or read an extra chapter. I think it was actually read a couple of like 15 pages. It was something like read a little bit more than you typically would. And it wasn't a spiritual book. And it wasn't a deep, there was no hidden message in the pages. It was really about learning to be in my feminine, learning to sink into my feminine energy, to relax, to nourish, to serve myself so that I can then show up more fully to serve you. And like I said, when those kinds of suggestions or downloads started coming in over a year ago, that could be a spiritual practice, that was very much aligned to where I needed to be and what I needed to be doing, I resisted it. Because they're not teaching that in any of the spiritual courses, and it's not a part of any of the memberships that I'm in, but it is very much one of the most important lessons and practices that I have. So I would say probably the actual practice is dropping in every single day and then answering the call. And then the lesson was also to open up and receive and follow whatever the call might be, even if my ego was a little bit like, no thanks, that's not spiritual. But I felt so much better, and it really helped me step up and show up to my business today and to my mission. Okay? So I hope that that's helpful. Be open to what comes in from your higher self. Be open to it not being textbook spiritual, if you will. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get some energies for this upcoming week. I hope that helped give you a little bit of peace surrounding your spiritual practice. I don't want it to be that you're feeling like, oh my God, I need to do this every single day, and then you miss a day and you're beating yourself up. My love, if you're beating yourself up, then it's not the right spiritual practice for you. Okay, let's bring more love into your life. Let's bring more love to you. Thank you. It just fell right out of my hand and into my lap. So we're starting out this week. We have the Three of Wands. This is about vision. So what is your vision? We know from the past couple of forecasts, and by couple, I mean like the past 30 forecasts, that abundance is coming for the feminine, right? And do you feel it? Have you experienced it? I've experienced it, and I sense more coming. I sense more sitting like just out of reach, and I just need to lean back, sink into my feminine, and allow it to come the distance, allow it to close the gap on its own, to not force, to not push. Okay, but now is the time to explore your vision, the vision that you have, your vision for your life, for your loved ones, for your family unit or your soul circle, whoever it is that you kind of are envisioning for and with. It's time to revisit that. It's time to tweak it. Now, one of the things that I want you to know, because a lot of you are at very big pivot points, or very big crossroads here, where you're considering, do I stay in this job, in this relationship, in this energy, or do I move on to something else, or do I move on to a new project, or do I let go of where I was and just open myself up to the next call, whatever it might be, because maybe you don't know yet. So if you're in that energy, you're not alone. You're kind of with a little pocket. I tend to have like 3 pockets or 4 pockets within the collective, but you're in that pocket. And Spirit really wants you to know, if that is the energy that you're in, and maybe it's not specifically the energy you're in, but this message could also be for you, that just because your vision has changed or evolved doesn't mean at one point in time you didn't know yourself, or you didn't know what you really wanted, or you were misaligned. Look at alignment as a process. Look at your desires as a process. Sometimes you can't figure out the next thing. You can't figure out what it is you really want without the stepping stone of the previous thing, whether that previous thing manifested or not, okay? So let go of the judgment, the shame, the fear, the questioning that comes along with needing to pivot, with needing to make or wanting to make a substantial change in your life. Okay? It happens to everybody, and for good reason. Oftentimes we might, I think I've told this story before. October 20 something, it's fluid. I started to take an Akashic record reading class because I thought, that's something I want to add. And here's the thing, I got 90% through with the course. I pushed myself to get to that 90% mark. And I had this moment where I realized I learned everything I needed to know from that course. And it wasn't that I learned everything I needed to know to be an Akashic record reader. I learned everything I needed to know to get me to where I am today. And it was wrapped up in that course. The point for me, the path for me was not to push and complete that class. It was not aligned. It wasn't what I was meant to do at the time. But instead of looking at, I wasted time, I wasted money, I went off course, or that, whatever it was, whatever the stories could have been, I had this moment of recognizing I've learned what I needed to learn. I learned about my soul family. I learned about my planet of origin. I learned about my primary energy centers, and that's all I needed to know. And that got me to where I am today. Okay, so I don't look at that as like time off course. I actually see the reasoning behind it, and I see how the specific things that I learned there I couldn't have learned anywhere else. Okay, of course the card goes, well, not flying, but down here. So I'm back. So here we have the Six of Cups, powerful soulmate energy. This is all about and Six of Cups is also inner child work, and allowing yourself this freedom, this energy to explore the vision, to know that it doesn't have to be, once it's on your dream board, that's what you're going full force into, or, full force towards. and this is why I don't do dream boards, but when I did do dream boards, I actually only used thumbtacks so I could take things off when I was like, that's no longer what I want, and I could add things in. Okay, but this is really about giving yourself some freedom, some liberty to play with the vision, to not have it be so concrete. And what I'm seeing is like you have this vision, but you allow for there to be a lot of space around it. You have an idea of what you want, but you're open to the path, you're open to the route, the way you get there, but also to what that destination includes and what exactly it is in general. So it's okay for it to not be definitive. And I think a lot of people, when we start to say, well, what is it that you want? What is it that you are desiring? Or what is it that you're manifesting? And the response is, I don't know. Let's move out of the I don't know and just give it some, like what I'm hearing is like, instead of I don't know, just what color? If it was a color, what would it be? It's totally random. I've never even thought of that before. So Spirit's saying, you can build it a little bit and it doesn't have to make sense. What's the energy? What's the frequency that you want in your vision or in your future, and go towards that. But this soulmate card, this came up in a recent reading for the Wild-Hearted Collective, and there was and I so don't love these messages because I think they're so overdone and I question, but this does indicate some return from the past. It can be a relationship, it can be oh, okay, thank you. It could be a relationship, so somebody that you're no longer in contact with comes back in. Could be a romantic partner, could be a co-worker, mentor, whatever it is. It could be also one of your spiritual gifts. It could be something that you, and like, it's funny because they're talking about the Akashic records, but not for me. But it's like that kind of thing. Like maybe you did get 90% of the way through a course, and now you're really feeling compelled to go the distance with it, to close the gap, to take it to that the final way, the 10%, you close it up so that that's done and you can move forward with it, because it is what you're here to do. Okay, interesting message. Ooh, I'm thinking, like, is there anything that I want to go back to, and not right now, not in my conscious awareness, but let me know if there's something that you started and haven't finished. And it doesn't have to be a course, maybe it's an offering. You know, that happened with the Lightworkers mission activation. That came through, it started to come through in February 2020, and at that time I was working with Odin's frequency, and he just said it's not going to be the time. People are going to be scared. They're not going to want to spend the money. And then sure as hell, global shutdown, right? And then I brought it back. I brought it forward. So it could be something like that. Yeah, cool. So then we have the 9 of Wands, resilience. So I have to tell you, if you are also a member of the collective, we talked about this in last week's energy forecast, energy forecast in last week's live. We had the word resilience come in. And this 9 of Wands is letting you know that you have everything it takes to go the distance on your desires. So for some of you, we know abundance is landing. We know miracles are happening for the feminine in the month of March. They've already been happening. Have you tuned into your miracles? Have you really kind of embraced the abundance that has already come? Because there's a lot, and maybe it's going unnoticed, and maybe it's going unappreciated, but there's something big that you're working on. And Spirit is letting you know that keep going, keep pushing. This is something big. This is required a lot of healing. It's required a lot of effort. It's required quite a bit of time. It's not like this is an intention or a desire that you just stumbled upon January 1st, 2022. This is something that you have been calling in for years, and what Spirit is even saying is lifetimes. And you might be at the bottom. Like, you might be saying, you know what, this is not happening. It's just not coming. It's not getting closer. And Spirit is really saying, if it doesn't happen in March, please keep going. If it matters that much to you, you're going to find a little bit more energy. You're going to find a little bit more oomph, and to push through, to get to that finish line that you've been working so hard towards. All right. So this is that message. This is a message I'm being called to share with you. Don't give up. Just because the external has not manifested yet, don't give up on aligning and shining. Don't give up on what you most want. You are worthy of what you want. You are worthy of your desires. And that was a mantra of mine a couple months back. I am worthy of my wants. Because I was going through a time where I had to keep pushing, even though I was questioning, is this ever going to happen? And it happened. It happened. I just had to really step into that feeling of like, not only do I want it, I'm worthy of it. And so I stopped asking Spirit, oh, here's a big thing, and they want me to share this. I stopped asking Spirit, is this going to happen? And instead said, how can I make this happen? What do you need from me? What do I need to do? And they were like, we need you to just stop pushing so hard. We need you to relax your energy, relax your being, and let us do a little bit of this for you. So we'll get one more tarot card. Yeah, cool. So here we have card number, I believe it's 8 in this deck. Yep, Justice. Scales are balancing. Karma, all of that stuff, all of your efforts, all of your work, all of your intentions, all of the things, my love, they are going to be balanced out. You've been showing up, you've been doing your healing, you've been making the effort on your path. And it's just, I mean, I know I get this all the time, and sometimes I like hesitate saying it because I don't want, well, because like little Karen doesn't want to give false hope, but it's really just a matter of time before justice is served, before you get what you deserve, before you get what you desire. And again, Spirit's saying, so don't give up. Don't throw in the towel just yet. Take a break, but don't give up. Let's get a few more cards. Moving into oracle cards. And for some of you, this 9 of Wands energy is you're hoping for communication. You're hoping for clarity. I'm also hearing you're hoping for closure on something. And you've been working towards it. You've been doing this inner healing. Just decide to give yourself closure, whether you get it from another person or a situation or not. And I wouldn't be surprised if as a result of saying, you know what, I now close out this chapter. I no longer need to hear from this person. I no longer need resolution. I don't need like a letter of, like I'm hearing like, I don't need a letter of termination, or you just decide you're going to move on, you're going to move forward. And it's almost like energetically then what you've been asking for and what you've been wanting just comes on in. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, and this has been a big message too. So I am being nudged to speak a little bit about the global thing, you know, the global crap. Because I think so many of us who are called to serve are wondering, are we doing enough? Or how can I be of service? Or what, you know, what's happening? Will we ever get out of this? And like I shared in a recent Instagram live, just it all counts. Everything you're doing, everything that you are creating, every action you take in the vibration of love matters. So keep showing up and serving. Worry less about who it is you're helping and how big the impact will be, and just show up and help, show up and serve. Illusion, because we are getting, how do I want to put this? Because I haven't loved some of the messages that have, like, I've seen, like, we want to stay present with what is on the planet. Okay, we want to be aware. We want to know what's going on. We don't want to look away. We don't want to ignore or avoid. We want to be aware. We want to be present with it, because it's important for us to be present with it. To me, honestly, the more I become aware, because I haven't always been like this. I haven't always been, and I'm still like, it's a work in progress, but we don't want to stuff our heads in the sand. And it's interesting because the more we show up to the conversation, or the more I show up to the conversation or what's happening, the more motivated I am to help more women get their businesses, to get their healing, you know, their healing businesses off the ground, so that they can start to really help to do the work that they're here to do. So stay present with it, but don't get lost in it. Don't get distracted with it. Don't become so focused on all of the people that you can't help right now that you forget. Don't focus so much and so disempowered and so wrapped up in it that you forget to serve those you can. So that's a big thing. The card is illusion, embrace the truth. Really, the truth here is that it all counts. Everything you're doing, it counts, it matters, it's helping. we're not going to show up and be a new earth tomorrow. We're not going to see humanity awaken overnight. And we know that, but it's like during these times we wonder, is anything that we're doing helping? Is like all of this just a complete joke? And it's not. We're getting there a little bit at a time. And these events that are transpiring, they're awful. They're horrific. And there is no but. They are awful. They are horrific, period. We still have a job to do. We still have missions to serve. And we need to show up and serve them. Okay? That I didn't mean for that to come through so like, but it's true. We have to show up and serve and do what we can, rather than focus on what we can't do. Okay, so embrace the illusion, or no, not the illusion. Don't embrace the illusion. Embrace the truth that you do matter. The work you're doing does count. It is helping. Believe in yourself, believe in your magic, believe in your light. Okay, and then the second card is the 7 deadly sins, which is humanity's destructive traits. And we're seeing that play out, and we will continue to see that play out. Spoiler alert, right? We're going to continue to see humanity at its worst. But that's why, that like, this tickles my ego, but it's like, that's why the best of us, the most loving of us have chosen to come here at this time. And I'm like, the best of us, I don't like that, because that ranks us, but it's like the energy. We as a community, we as a soul pod or a soul family have all come here to show up, to be a part of the change, to enter and share and create from the energy of love, and to know and to trust and to believe that it makes an impact. All right, so I'm going to leave it on that note, because that was a big note. But I'm with you on this. Like, I definitely have been asking these questions. If you found yourself in that energy, am I doing enough? Or, is this making an impact? Or, like, what role am I playing? Because I don't think any of us that are watching this want to bypass or look away when we really need to be looking dead on, looking right at it. So I'm with you on that. And I feel that immensely right now. All right. Okay, so yeah, that is what I have for you. If you are interested in a personal reading or working with me, check down in the video description. But until next week, I will see you later. Bye.